The government is stealing our money and padding their pockets, all while doing so during an election cycle to gain votes. This coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me. My name is Andrew Alvarez. I'm the LatinoConservative. I do this newscast on a pretty regular basis from wherever I am. I'm in my home office right now. And it's that time again. The primaries are over. You know that I was in the primaries elections. Well, it didn't fare so well, but oh well, the work doesn't stop. But what's going on right now? Something that I've called out government officials for doing for years already. They're using legislation and they're using their powers to pander to voters. And they're using their powers to make money. So I'm going to start off. Elected officials are using their legislation for campaigns. I'm going to start off by Governor Abbott. Now, mind you, I am a conservative. I am a Republican. I do not like what Governor Abbott is doing. Governor Abbott started early, though. Started last year. We know that he had the ban on abortions that happened for abortions that were 6 weeks, pregnancies that were 6 weeks later. There's a ban on that. Big controversy still going over that. That was a campaign tool, in my opinion. Now he has orders to investigate those who give transitional treatments, and I'm talking about gender transition treatments to children. Now understand, Texas already has a law against providing gender transition treatments to kids. Under 18, I get that. They can't even buy a pack of cigarettes yet. I totally agree with that. But why bring it up again at this time? Could it be because he did that right during the primaries? He had, two very strong candidates going against him, Huffines and West. So he used legislation as a tool for campaign. My personal opinion, if you're going to do that, if you're going to take the state's resources, if you're going to take the taxpayers' resources and use that as legislation, as a campaign tool, you need to declare it in your filings. That is money that you're taking from your constituents, myself included. He's also proposed companies to be banned from boycotting the use of fossil fuels. Now, we all know that fossil fuels is a touchy subject right now, especially with what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. We know oil prices have gone up. We know this. Fossil fuel prices, everybody on the left wants to go to the green side. And okay, I could see that. I think we should supplement fossil fuels with green energy. Being a car guy myself, professional car guy, I can see that in the car industry, there's no real room for green energy. It just doesn't happen. It's a pure luxury. It's not a benefit to the environment because there's more hazardous waste coming from electric cars than there are from fossil fuel cars. So he's preventing companies, and he wants to ban companies from boycotting the use of fossil fuels. Now, I get it. He's Republican. I might get some hate for this. And you know what? If I do, oh well, sue me. But that's not conservative government. That is not conservative government at all. What he is proposing is very socialist. The definition of socialism is when the government owns the company and the company has to do what the government says. That is the definition of socialism. He is being anti-conservative, anti-Republican by imposing and trying to impose these big bans, which is technically he's trying to ban freedom of speech, their First Amendment protected right. Governor Abbott, shame on you. You're not a Republican. You're not a Democrat. I don't know what you are, but you're on the ticket as a Republican. So I guess you got something going on there. Again, my personal opinion is you shouldn't have won that election. It was the media that won you that primary election. And before I get into the next topic, let me remind y'all, don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button. And we want to mention my affiliate that I have. If you're having trouble with credit scores, which I was for a while, you should check out Chime. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. But Chime gets you a credit card. It's a secure credit card that you can set up your direct deposit to go to. And you know what, guys? My credit score, no lie, went up 100 points in 60 days. That's right, 100 points in 60 days. I'm going to drop that link down in the description box. Check it out. But let's continue on. Congress passed a $13 billion bill that provided aid to the Ukraine. Congress passed, and I'm repeating this again, Congress passed a $13 billion bill to help Ukraine. Looks good, right? Great humanitarian effort on the part of the United States. We have a great government going on. Woohoo. I'm staring at you now. So we have veterans that are sleeping on the street. We have a crisis at our own border. You don't believe me? Go down there yourselves. I have seen it myself. We have this horrible number 22 that I mentioned all during my campaign, and I will keep on mentioning that until it is fixed. But providing weapons and money as a humanitarian effort to the Ukraine looks good on a voting record, right? It does. Makes you look like you're the good person. So when constituents want to cast their votes, they see, hey, my person's a humanitarian. Yes, I'm gonna vote for him. Or her. I'm sorry. Or them. Or she, he, whatever you want to call them. But this is also the same country that the president's son was a big-time oil executive who was unexperienced, right? So it's also the same country we're providing money and weapons to. That was the reason why a sitting president was impeached. They're sending them our hard-earned money. They're sending them our hard-earned money. My hard-earned money. And your hard-earned money. Why? Because it looks good to voters. Their representatives are humanitarians. They're philanthropists. They're the good guys, right? Meanwhile, people over here in the United States are having trouble making ends meet still. These same people are sending weapons to the Ukraine, giving them guns, AK-47s, and they're, yeah, let's do this. That's the good thing to do. Yet over here stateside, they want to take away our guns. But it looks good on a voting record, right? Another bill that they just passed was the Crown Act. Now, I know a lot of you are going to cheer for this. Yes, Crown Act. And you know what? Okay, fine. If you want to cheer for that, fine. I get that. I can agree with you that no one should be discriminated against because of their hair, or lack thereof in my sense. The bill specifically cites discrimination against an education, claiming that people with hair that was textured or in locks or in braids, cornrows, and whatnot were unable to get an education. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in Texas. I'm from Texas. I travel the country quite a bit for my full-time job. This is just a little side gig that I have. But Texas is known for being a very Republican state, right? We are red. The saying is, don't California my Texas, right? I looked at a few dress codes. I didn't see that in there. Victoria Independent School District, my hometown actually, pretty Republican. In fact, at the polls during the primaries, I want to say there was only about 1/3 the turnout of Democrat voters as it was Republican voters. So it's a very Republican city. They don't mention anything about textured hair or curly hair or braids, cornrows, corn locks. What they do mention is making sure it's natural hair, natural color. Nothing crazy. No mohawks. They specify mohawks. Mohawks is where you have this strip of hair down here. They mentioned that. No mohawks, and I could see that. But the bill says natural and protective hair. So the hair they're talking about in the bill is, and I hate to say it like this, I hate to sound like this, is, people with big hair or hair with cornrows, stuff like that. Specifically, African American hair. It is referring to that only. But if you Google pictures, you got the image search in Google, you search for African tribes, you'll see pictures there. Most of them, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 90% of them, have short buzzed hair, like shaved hair type. They don't have long hair with long styles. You don't start seeing that really until you actually type in the word hair and include that in the search. This is another pandering tool, guys. Plus, there's already laws against that, against discrimination, right? It's the whole purpose of the civil rights. There's already laws against that. They are using another legislative bill, another legislative piece of material to pander to voters, specifically Black voters and Black voters only. Why do I say that? They don't mention anything about a cut. Nothing about a Latino cut. The cut wherever it's just straight, the bold haircut. You got the designs in here that Latinos get a lot of times. Yeah, they don't mention anything about that. Buzzed hairs, nothing like that. What about the Japanese haircuts? Sometimes they like to have just the back part right here. That's traditional, that's protective, right? Nothing about that. Specifically Black hair, African American hair. Which, I see why you're trying to get the votes, but at the same time, you're dividing us more. Pandering to voters. Again, on our dime. You should be out doing real work. Real hard work for your constituents. So, the last thing that they did, they're using all of these legislative tools to get voters. They worked through a government shutdown real quick to pass a bill to send $13 billion to the Ukraine. They went through that real quick. By the way, I'm an advocate for, if there's a governmental shutdown, the government shouldn't get paid, and that's all of the government employees and government officials. Congress shouldn't get paid. Senate, the president shouldn't get paid because no one can come to an agreement. The government isn't working, right? If the little man doesn't get paid, neither does the big man. I've always been an advocate for that. But what they managed to do during all of this going on, they snuck something in on us. Another spending bill worth about $700 million. And you know what it did? It gave their staffers a 21% raise. That's right, 21% raise. That's a lot. I can't think of anybody else in this country that's gotten a 21% raise. Nobody. None. And so who are the staffers? The staffers are the people that team up with the representatives and Senate representatives and write the legislation for them. It's not the actual representatives that do the actual legislating. It is their staffers that write the bills, that call the funders, that raise funds for them. All the representatives do is they go out there, they vote yes or no, and make a few appearances. That's what they do. The staffers need term limits too. You got staffers in there that have been in there longer than the representatives, and they've worked with the past 3 representatives who've been in there for 15 years each. Those are the real representatives, actually. So their representatives, their staffers, have a 21% raise now. When's the last time you've gotten more than a 50-cent raise in your life? Okay, I know some of us do, 1, 2, 3%, 6% of their pay. I get that. But the average worker gets about 50 cents raise on their paycheck, and they're lucky if they get that every year. Maybe it's every other year. Maybe $1. Just go onto TikTok and you'll see that all day long. People are arguing with their bosses and quitting because they get a 25-cent raise. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past 2 years, if your pay hasn't increased at least 7%, you've gotten a pay cut. Inflation and gas prices are so high right now that anything less than a 7% raise, you got a pay cut. Think about that for a little bit. These people are getting a 21% raise. A lot of them make about $100,000 a year. So guess what that means? They get $21,000 extra a year. Even if they made half of that, $50,000 a year, guess what? They just added $11,000 to their salary. It's a lot. That is a lot, guys. I'm sorry, $10,500. That is a lot. They snuck that in on us, taking our money that we work for, money that I pay taxes off of, whether I want to or not. It comes out of my check every single week, right along with my child support. But how can we stand for this? Let me tell you how we can stand for this and what we can do to change this. Elections matter. Elections are important. Elections have consequences. These people doing these actions, these tyrannical actions, are our elected officials. But we didn't necessarily vote for them. These are the people voting right now are the people that are really party affiliated. You've got your far right, you've got your far left. And the reason I know this is because I was a damn strong candidate. Know a lot of people in the town I ran, in the cities that I ran, plural. But out of 5 candidates, the incumbent won with 74% of the vote. Every statistic out there says that is wrong, but he still got it. There wasn't even a runoff. In Texas, you have to have less than 50% of the vote to have a runoff. There wasn't even a runoff out of 5 candidates. So that tells me exactly there that people on the far extremes are voting. That's it. You and I need to go out there and vote too. We need to go cast our votes. We need to go primary the elected officials. It's too late to do it this term, but next term in 2024, which I might run again. You never know, because the work doesn't stop. But that's the only way we can get through this, is actually go out there and vote and hold these elected officials accountable. Hey guys, thanks again for watching me and listening to me on this episode of the Latino Conservative. My name is Andrew Alvarez. Don't forget to go like, share, subscribe to this, and I promise I'm updating my website. Just finished my campaign, so please excuse me. www.thelatinoconservative.com. Thank you so much. God bless.